All right, I'm here with Matt Grissom from College Baseball Insiders, here to talk all things college baseball regionals and the rest of the postseason going forward and break down best bets, odds, you name it. We're here to talk about it and break it down. So, without further ado, Matt Grissom, great to have you here and really enjoyed it. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited. This is like Christmas morning for me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a lot of fun. It's just the best time of the year for college baseball fans and players all over the countries and coaches. And it's just the jitters are there. Everything Omaha's so close, it's in reach, and so it's a lot of fun. Anything can happen in the postseason.
Absolutely.
So with that, we're going to bring in this college baseball's insiders bracket displaying all of 64 teams. We're going to go through each regional and talk about best odds, best teams, who's hot, who's not, where's the value, where's not. So let's start with that off with the number one national seed and Tennessee Volunteers, the Knoxville Regional. So what are you liking here, Matt?
Yeah, no surprise. Tennessee, number one overall. They took care of business. It was an entertaining game there, at least in the ninth inning. Won the SEC tournament. Won the SEC outright with, I guess, a co-champ in Kentucky. They were a little bitter about that. Kentucky had a great season, but Tennessee, I think a lot of Vols fans were a little stressed out that Tony Vitello really wanted to win the SEC tournament. But look, he's a coach that he's been there. He's been the number one overall seed. He's dealt with, losing to Notre Dame in that super regional. And then he's been the number two that fought his way through a Clemson regional and on through a Southern Miss Hattiesburg super and made it to Omaha. And I think he's embraced it at this point. He knows that he's got a very solid team. They're one of the most well-balanced teams in college baseball up there with Texas A&M, but the Vols should be your short shot right now, like the market is telling us, to win it all. And I think they're minus 305 to win the regional. It's pretty juicy, but I can't see them getting upset by really any of these number two, number three, number four seeds. I mean, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, when you mentioned Southern Miss being the regional last time they played in Hattiesburg, I remember that real fondly. And look at it again, Southern Miss is in the regional with Tennessee, so it's. I think a lot of people and coaches definitely gonna remember that, but it's tough. I don't see anyone outside of Southern Miss giving Tennessee really a chance here in the regional. I mean, I don't see Indiana having the depth. I think there's no value there. And plus 750 from what I'm seeing on Bet Rivers and North Kentucky. Congrats to them on making the regional in the postseason. But I don't see any value outside of Southern Miss possibly. But it's Tennessee's to lose. But I just don't think there's any chance that they're going to lose. Not let alone with Tony Vitello at the helm.
Yeah. Southern Miss, Nico Mazza, no more Tanner Hall. That was the game of the century, I feel like, last year in the Super Regionals. But yeah, no Chase Burns for Tennessee. However, I just think Tennessee's dominance now, they struggled last year to swing at times, but this year that offense has been lethal. And I feel like you pair that with the depth at pitching, there's not going to be anybody that can contend with Tennessee on either side of the ball, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The depth of pitching and then the depth of lineup, starting with the 1-2 punch of Christian Moore, and Blake Burke. I've said it before, the best 1-2 punch in the SEC and possibly in college baseball. I mean, it's unbelievable just the depth they have on both sides of the ball. And Tony Vitello's got the Vols rolling and hot.
Yeah,
And right
it's
on
not
time.
fair. And then they get Billy Amick and Cannon Peebles transferring out of the ACC just to beef up their lineup. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you got Dylan Dreiling too. It's just loaded. Just there's not one or two or three guys. It's 9 guys that are power hitters. It's unbelievable.
Yep.
But I mean, there's no reason they should lose this regional. That's for sure. So with that, we're going to head over to the number 2 national seed, in which there was a co-SEC champion as well. Kentucky Wildcats are hosting a regional in Lexington. And what are you seeing here, Matt? What are you liking or not liking? What are you staying away from or diving into?
Initially, I kind of thought Indiana State may be able to contend with them, but this was a team last year. I know they got to host in the Terre Haute Regional, and then the Supers got reworked because they had an event already planned. So I think Indiana State is well balanced, but so is Kentucky in the sense of they're a well balanced team in the SEC, and I feel like that plays a lot of weight in this. Not saying Indiana State can't make some noise, but I feel like at the end of the day, this is Kentucky's regional to lose. And I feel like you would see that in the odds. Kentucky right now, minus 177. Indiana State's your next shortest shot, plus 275. Illinois was an interesting team out of the Big Ten. They ended up winning the Big Ten regular season. But at the end of the day, you're talking about competition level. And I just think what Kentucky has been able to do throughout the SEC schedule just speaks wonders to how successful this team is going to be in their own regional.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I I was surprised when I saw it only plus one or minus 177 for Kentucky, just with the style of baseball they play under Nick Mingione. It's clean baseball, death by a thousand cuts, error free. Small ball. They're doing all the little things right, and just they've proven it week in and week out in the SEC, playing the best teams in the country every single week. They have the most quad one wins in college baseball, 22-9. It's unbelievable, and the strength of schedule is there. But Indiana State, I think they got a lot of they got some bulletin board material, that's for sure, coming into this. Not hosting after having a top 10 RPI. They've only played 9 quad 1 games though, so it's kind of hard to tell where they kind of stand against an SEC team in my mind. And they're 3-6 in those games, but I think if they might sneak one out, but I just don't see them winning the regional. It's too consistently good baseball and high level baseball from Kentucky and Nick Mingione for me.
Yeah, and one thing we've got over at collegebaseballinsiders.com, we do a matchup predictor where it projects
Yeah,
who has the better win probability. And it's been wrong on Kentucky. Like the stats for Kentucky would say that they are due for regression. They don't do anything great, but they do everything well. And they play smart ball and they don't make mistakes. And I feel like that's what Eric Mingione has leaned on to have success. Now, without naming a starting pitcher, because who knows? And I feel like this is a good segue to talk about kind of the interesting 1-4s and how they line up pitching. But right now, they actually make Indiana State minus 127, Kentucky plus 127. So I don't think you're going to get odds like that, but it is interesting. We'll see if Kentucky ends up getting that regression. But do you think Eric Mingione is going to throw his typical Friday night guy in Trey Poozer, or do you think he messes around with the lineup, which you'll see a lot of 1 seeds do against a 4, maybe throw off and then save your ace for that 2-3 matchup the next day?
yeah. That for me, Matt, that's the biggest thing in regionals, and it kind of happened, especially in the SEC tournament, with how dialed in I was on that. But just at tournaments all over in conference play, like you know, those teams that had a bye as well. Like, do they throw their ace, game one or not? Like regionals are the biggest place we really see that because are you going to throw your ace there, and then game two you're playing the next best team in the region, and you're throwing your 2 guy, and they may be throwing their 2 guy, they may be throwing their 1 guy. That's the biggest Texas 2-step that is in the postseason. It's so interesting to see. I don't I don't see them throwing Poozer in game one. I feel like they have enough depth to get past Western Michigan in game one and save Poozer against Indiana State.
That wouldn't surprise me. Dominic Nyman's been very good too as a game 2 guy. And Mason Moore's, I feel like he's done well too as the game 3. So they could probably throw any of them and be just fine. Poozer has a slightly better stat line, but any of those 3, I feel like they're going to have enough in the tank to beat Indiana State, assuming that's who they ended up playing.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll see what happens with that when this weekend comes and how that kind of plays out. But that'll be the big talk for every single regional around the country for sure. And so with that, we're going to jump over to the third national seed that is still in the SEC. SEC having the top 3 national seeds. It's Texas A&M hosting in College Station, and they got a tough regional. Looks like. You got Louisiana, you got Texas, you got Grambling. What are you seeing here? What do you like, not like? Talk to me.
I think it's funny that they put Texas in with Texas A&M. I was actually hoping that you could get a 3 seed and in TCU, but even though they got left out, they still made it happen with Texas. This is a team that's going to be joining the SEC. It's not going to get any easier for the Longhorns. They seem to have figured it out late in the season, but A&M is a different monster, and I don't think you can put a lot of stock into it for going 0 for 2 in the SEC tournament, which so did Arkansas, which we'll get to in a minute. But A&M is another well-balanced team. They're very good in starting pitching. They're very good in hitting. They've got a salty lineup up and down with Braden Montgomery and Jace Lavalette. This is going to be a team that I feel like can really make a push, and their path for a super regional getting through with Santa Barbara, Oregon, San Diego, and Fresno State regional. I feel like Jim Schlossnagle is going to have the guys ready. Ryan Prager's been one of the best Friday night guys in the country. I'll be interested to see if he pitches off him, maybe throw Tanner Jones or Justin Lampkin, and then put it all on the line for Louisiana or Texas, which Louisiana could give fits to Texas. that's going to be a really fun regional to watch. But I think at the end of the day, Texas A&M is just far and away better than the competition.
Yeah, Matt, and you said it's the lineup that's just so deep for me. I mean, you got Gavin RHOBACK, SEC freshman of the year, I believe, and just one of the best freshmen in college baseball. He looks like a 2-3 year guy in the SEC, and just the mature at bats he takes. You got Jace Lavalette right behind him, Brayden Montgomery. There's no letting up in this A&M lineup. The fans, they are passionate. They were going to pack out that stadium as they always do, and maybe Louisiana pulls the upset over Texas because Texas might be looking ahead to A&M. You never know. I mean, Louisiana's a really scrappy team. The Sun Belt's a great conference, so it's going to be interesting. I mean, right now A&M's minus 180 to win it, Texas plus 275, and Louisiana Lafayette plus 400, and Grambling plus 20,000. If you want to dabble in that at all, I'm going to pass on the SWAC champ, but I don't know. I mean, I really hope for the sake of college baseball and the fans, we do get Texas A&M with a super regional on the line. That would be incredible, but I just think the depth on the mound too with A&M is just going to kind of surpass Texas and push to a super regional, which they have a really, really good path, like you said, to make it to Omaha. So we'll see what that kind of
the lines are popping. Bryan College Station Regional now A&M's out to minus 180, Texas plus 275, Louisiana Lafayette plus 400. Wow. And I would say our win probability gives a slight edge, minus 113 to the Raging Cajuns. That may not be a bad play if you love A&M and you want to look for a second team to kind of ride with. Louisiana plus 400 may be better value than Texas plus 275. Just kind of outside looking in.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, I mean, those Sun Belt teams, there's always a couple of mid majors that scrap and that kind of get overlooked and then make a real good run for it. So it's really, who's going to do it? It's not if, it's when, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So, and with that, we're going to jump over to the fourth national seed on here, which is actually covered up by our graphic. So we're going to, let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Let's see. Number 4 national seed is Clemson, right? Or is it
North Carolina?
Or it's North Carolina's national
seed. If you want me to go through, North Carolina takes on the number 4 seed Long Island Sharks.
Long Island, yep.
And then you've got number 2 LSU taking on number 3 Wofford.
Yeah, that deep regional.
I can tell you, a lot of people are already jumping on LSU. That number, I think LSU may be the favorite now, but I don't know. Again, not to put too much stock into what we just saw in the SEC tournament, but North Carolina, they've been playing really good ball all season long, and I can only wonder what Scott Forbes would do if he had Jake Knapp, the original Friday night guy that they lost right before the season. But they don't. They lost Folger Boaz, who was also a really good starter for them, and they're just kind of piecemealing it together right now, and they're still at the top of our power ratings. They're ranked number 4. This team they continue to win in a tough ACC, and I can't back LSU just knowing that, Luke Holman's a good starter. Gage Jump has been serviceable, but I think at the end of the day, this is North Carolina or pass for me. LSU is plus 100. So even money, North Carolina slight favorite minus 110. It's basically a coin flip between both of them. It's a shame that Bet Rivers is the only ones that are putting odds out, because I remember last year there were a couple of scenarios like this where it was a 50-50, but you could literally bet. Now, I think we gave it out in our guide for Clemson, Tennessee, where they were both plus money. So you bet both of them, you have a really good chance of making some money. But it looks like they've sharpened up a little bit. No value, in my opinion, LSU even money. This would be North Carolina minus 110 or pass.
Yeah. I mean, I wish, shout out to Bet Rivers for having lines for regionals and, kind of spearheading that for sure. But it's interesting because it's like we talked about, how much do you rely on LSU's SEC tournament kind of run and that push versus a whole kind of season body of work? I mean, is it kind of a hot, cold, hot theory? They're getting hot at the right time, Gage Jump having one of his best outings. He's going 7-8 innings. Luke Coleman going 7-8 innings, and then you save your bullpen for a deep run in Hoover. I mean, is that something that we see happen in regional again? I mean, North Carolina's just been, so steady and so consistently good all year long. And I mean, they're 4th RPI. They're 42-13 overall. Like it hasn't been a bumpy road for them, and like it has LSU. But LSU has been there before. They won it all last year. I mean, their current odds, they have the sixth best odds to win the national championship right now at plus 1,200. I mean, A&M's plus 500, Tennessee plus 500, Arkansas plus 750, Kentucky plus 900, Clemson 1,200, LSU 1,200, and then a little bit lower down, they got North Carolina plus 2,000. So it's there seems to be a lot of focus on LSU in this region. We know LSU fans are going to travel. They're definitely going to tailgate well. I've experienced that firsthand. So it's just can they continue the play that they've had in the SEC tournament? And I mean, it's a coin flip for sure, and it's something I don't really want to dive in as much, just like you. So
Well, and they better not sleep on Wofford either. I feel like they're going to have just as good of an opportunity to drop that game as they would against North Carolina, assuming it's going to be Gage Jump versus probably Carter Fink. I think he's the one that's been pitching on Friday nights for Wofford, but our projections have LSU just minus 130 in that one. So Wofford's been playing really well. Last 10 games are 7-3. They've got a weighted runs created plus 174, so 74% above average. This is going to be a tough team, but I feel like LSU probably gets this one and then throws Holman against North Carolina.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to Wofford, Southern champion, their second tournament appearance, first since 2007. So maybe they'll make some noise, if LSU's kind of looking ahead to UNC. So we'll see. But
I misspoke. Zach Cowan, not Carter Fink. Carter Fink plays for Eastern Tennessee. I don't know what I was looking at. But when you put that in, LSU only minus 114 on the look ahead on it. So should be good.
Well,
Zach Cowan's, his numbers look impressive.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. I think that'll be a really good regional for sure. So we'll all these feel like they're gonna be just great regionals when you look at it. I mean, and then the next one we talk about is one of the best stadiums venues in college baseball in Arkansas, the number 5 national seed. The 2 seed is La Tech, 3 seed Kansas State, 4 seed SEMO, Southeast Missouri. I mean, is this maybe an easier kind of regional than others, or what do you see out of here? What do you get from it?
It appears that way. I would say Arkansas definitely got a better path than what they got last year with TCU coming to town. But Louisiana Tech, that's the one team that I've kind of got circled. Does worry me. They've been smashing the ball lately. I think they are in the top 10 in team hitting by weighted runs created plus. This is a team that's hot right now, and it's not at the Love Shack, so I feel a little bit better about it. But Baum is going to be rocking. Hopefully, I'm there in attendance, and we can get them through to the Super Regional. But yeah, it would be Arkansas or Louisiana Tech for me. I think Arkansas is out to minus 250. No real value laying that at this point. But because you're probably going to get, Hagen Smith. It appears Gage Wood will probably throw against Southeast Missouri State.
So they're throwing off, you're thinking?
Yeah, Dave Van Horn.
I feel like you have to.
His press conference earlier. I feel like Gage Wood's been serviceable here as a starter here towards the end of the season. So I feel like if you can't win with Gage Jump on the mound against Southeastern Missouri, you're
Gage Wood
probably Gage Wood. You're probably in a tough boat, anyways. But Hagen Smith, saving him for the game 3. I feel like he's going to be, or game 2 is going to be critical.
Yeah, for sure. And he only had one bad start this year. It was his most recent one, in which he was going to be limited anyway. But we all know how Arkansas plays in Fayetteville. Their hitting is significantly better. The pitching is more dominant. I'm curious to see, do they keep Brady Tiger in the bullpen? Do they keep Mason Molina in the bullpen? Because in Hoover, we saw in one game we saw Hagen Smith, Brady Tiger, and Molina. They're Friday, Saturday, Sunday for most of the year, and it's like it's going to be interesting to see what Dave Van Horn kind of does with them. He's one of the best coaches in college baseball. He's been one of the longest tenured coaches too at Arkansas, so it's going to be interesting to see. But La Tech plus 450 to win this, Kansas State plus 450, and SEMO plus 3,000 if you're interested. So we'll see what kind of happens that, but it definitely looks like it sets up pretty well for Arkansas, especially playing at home is huge for them. So it's gonna be fun to watch them.
Absolutely.
And with that, number 6 national seed is going to be the Clemson Tigers, and they're hosting number 2 seed Vanderbilt, 3 the Coastal Carolina Chandeliers, 2016 national champions, and 4 seed High Point as well. So who won the Big South? So it's what do you take away from this regional exactly?
I mean, you would assume Clemson's going to play well and win. They were a team that they were playing really good at the beginning of the season. I know their odds. I think they opened up at circa like 40-1, and then did nothing but drop from there. I think they were the number 1 or number 2 team in the country at one point of the season. But Clemson is 6-4 in their last 10. Their weighted runs created plus over their last 10 is 97. So they're under average right now for what they're doing here lately. They got paired up against a pretty weak Vanderbilt team. I mean, this in my opinion is one of the weaker 2 seeds. And I don't know, Coastal, they are like Jekyll and Hyde. You may get 15 runs scored a game, but they may give up 16. I know Riley Eichhoff was their Friday night guy. He struggled. I don't know. I would bet the overs in this one because Clemson seems to always be down big in games and then fight their way back. So it's all going to depend on pitching matchups, in my opinion. Vanderbilt, this is a team with a lot of pedigree. Tim Corbin always has a very good team. They got upset last year against Oregon in Nashville, but Bryce Cunningham's a serviceable pitcher. His splits are not good though on the road. He's a complete night and day pitcher compared to playing at home. Carter Holton there and Devin Futrell. I just don't know which Vanderbilt team do you get? Do you get the team that made the deep run in the SEC tournament and made some noise, or do you get the team that they were all season where they just kind of underperformed their average? And I would like to say Vanderbilt could cause some problems for Clemson, but I just don't think once the bats of Clemson wake up and start really swinging, I don't think Vanderbilt can contend. Coastal would be the team that could, but again, their pitching staff, they're liable to lose a game 15-14 to Clemson if it ends up coming to that in game 2. So I think it's Clemson or pass for me, and I hate that I'm going all chalk because this is usually the time where I like to find somebody. But I think Vanderbilt plus 140, you're not getting a sexy enough number on there. Clemson minus 110, you could lay that and maybe have some insurance with Coastal plus 600. But other than that, I wouldn't bet Vandy at plus 140.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. I mean, I don't know how much you're keeping up with the SEC tournament, but I don't remember seeing Carter Holton throw at all. I didn't see an injury report or anything. So it's gonna be interesting. JD Thompson's already has pitched for Vanderbilt too and starts. And like you mentioned, I mean, on the road, their road splits are horrible. They are horrible on the road. It feels like for one of the SEC teams, let alone just how much better they pitch at home. It's so night and day. And I mean, the bats woke up in Hoover shockingly. I mean, I had them losing one and done in Hoover, but Tim Corbin, another one of the best coaches in college baseball. He's been there before. He's won national championships. He knows how to push the right buttons. It's just, can they continue pitching well and hitting at a high level here in Clemson Regional on the road? It's going to be tough. I mean, Clemson's bats are, I think, a lot more consistent and louder than anyone else in the regional. Coastal, like you said, bet the over. I love that. We've seen it with Clemson. They were down 9-1, 9-2, or 9-1, 8-3, and 9-1 again to Florida State, and came back and won all 3 games at home. I mean, those are all late game comebacks too in the 9th inning. I think one of them was. It's unbelievable. It's definitely Clemson's regional to lose in my mind. Coastal wild card. I would have to see them play a game first to see kind of how they're feeling, how they're swinging, But I kind of want to root for High Point just because, the little underdog. I mean, plus 4,000 is not terrible, but I just don't see the value, like you said, in Denver about a plus 140. So it's just too inconsistent for me to, want to wager anything on them. So it's kind of a stay away.
The battle of 2 negatives. Do you want to take the team that can hit sometimes but can't really pitch in Coastal, or do you want to take the team that can pitch sometimes but can't hit at times in Vandy? Carter Holton, his last outing was May 17th against Kentucky. He threw 1/3 of an inning. He gave up 5 earned runs in 20 pitches, only faced 6 batters. So he got pulled and he was done.
Yeah. I mean, they have the starters. Like the first half of the season, they were very, very good, like starting rotation wise, and just it felt like one of the best kind of overall rotations in the SEC for a little while, and it just kind of fizzled out. It was, I mean, if they all click and then the bats heat up like they did in Texas, like they did in Hoover, I mean, things could go right and they could see themselves in a super regional for sure. But it just it's hard to put your money where your mouth is on that right now.
Yeah, but I don't love Clemson either. Like I feel like Clemson's going to get beat in the super regional if they make it there, which we'll get into that one in a little bit. That should be a good one.
Oh yeah, they got a nice little super original lineup that we'll get into. But for right now, number 7, the national seed that is hosting is in Athens. It is the Georgia Bulldogs in Wes Johnson's first year as the head coach of Georgia. An unbelievable year that he's had to turn around the program. He was in the majors 2 years ago coaching. He's coaching LSU national championship last year as pitching coach, and now he's at Georgia hosting a regional, and they're going to host a super regional if they make it. So it's going to be incredible to watch that. Number 2 seed UNCW, who won CAA. 3 seed down the road rival Georgia Tech, some clean old fashioned hate. So we love a rivalry in the postseason. And the number 4 Army Black Knights. What do you like from here?
I was kind of surprised because, D1 put out their field of 64 projections before the SEC tournament. They had Georgia slotted in that 8th spot, and they were one and done in the SEC. So I figured they may punish them a little bit. They actually improved them, which came as a shock to me. But yeah,
Absolutely.
Wes Johnson's done a heck of a job. Georgia Tech, that's been talking about a Jekyll and Hyde team. They can't really pitch. I mean, Aiden Finateri has been their best pitcher, I feel like, but Drew Burris, the bats can wake up at any point. That's probably going to be your game too. But this one is going to be another over for me. Georgia Tech. I feel like, we're due for a 15, 16 run game. It's going to be whatever pitcher can stay hot for Georgia. Leighton Finley's kind of been that guy, but then he's not. And when he's not, he's bad. But I don't know. I don't really know what to make of this one. I haven't watched a lot of Wilmington. I know that they are solid, but at the end of the day, I feel like this is a pretty weak 2 seed for a number 7 national seed in Georgia that I don't really feel like is that deserving of it. But they have, in my opinion, they have one of the easiest paths to get to Omaha.
Yeah, it's I feel very similar about it just because I don't think they should have been a top 8 national seed, being on that bubble and then going one and done in Hoover. I just felt like other teams had a better resume overall and then kind of helped themselves at the end a lot more. But I guess the committee really liked what they see in Georgia to put them as a host seed, and not even the last one, they put them as 7.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see. It's I mean, good for Georgia for sure. I think they have a pretty easier regional than others. I don't think UNCW is the strongest 2 seed out there, let alone Tech at the 3 seed. It's I mean, there's definitely other 2 seeds that I think would give Georgia a huge run for their money in a regional in any kind of capacity. But I don't see the consistency in Georgia's pitching has really struggled. It's always been the bats that have kind of carried the load, and then the pitching's kind of been here sometimes, been there, it's been up and down consistently all year, and it's tough to you know win the postseason when you don't have pitching, and you're gonna need a lot of pitching, a lot of depth, and that's just not something I see out of Georgia consistently. I mean, I watched them in Athens when they were playing Vanderbilt, and they blow the doors off of Vanderbilt, and they pitched very well. I mean, it was also a struggling hitting Vanderbilt team at the time, so I think that kind of played into it as well. Vanderbilt playing on the road, that played into it as well. So I'm not huge on Georgia. The minus 150, I don't love at all. There's no really value for me there. Georgia Tech plus 275, UNCW plus 350. So the 2 seed has worse odds than the 3 seed, and they won their conference tournament. Army plus 3,500. I mean, I just don't really see anything to take here. I don't know. What do you see?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. You look at our win probability for Georgia Tech, if it comes to that on Saturday, Georgia would be laying minus 184, in our opinion, without starting pitchers. Georgia 7-3 in their last 10, Georgia Tech 3-7. So you've got 2 teams that are on different trajectories right now. Georgia weighted runs created plus 135 over their last 10 compared to 87 for Tech. I mean, if that ends up being the price, I guess there could be some value on taking Georgia minus 150. But again, you may have more success just rolling it over. Army, okay. I mean, I'm not going to say anything bad about the
Some
Army
disciplined baseball,
Academy.
especially
Yeah,
on Memorial Day.
on Memorial Day, but that doesn't really scare me if I'm Georgia. So you could probably throw a bullpen game and win that one and save your starters for Georgia Tech or UNCW. But right now, I think it's Georgia or pass.
Yeah, and one thing I'm looking forward to seeing is obviously Drew Burris and Charlie Condon go back at it head to head. You know, two incredible sluggers for their teams, and Charlie Condon having a historic season, and just Drew Burris having a historic season as well. And you remember Game 3 of the Georgia Tech series this season got rained out and like canceled or postponed, and then canceled, and Georgia was up 9-3 in the fourth inning. That never got rescheduled. So
Yeah, that one cost me some money getting canceled because I was on Georgia, but
yeah.
they what Georgia won 3-1 and then won 9-11 in both of those games. So
Yep. And Georgia right now has plus 2,400 to win it all in Omaha. 12th best odds. They don't seem like a team that should have the 12th best odds to me at all.
yeah, I was glad I got them. I think plus 600 to make the College World Series, and now looking at their path, I feel like that one is very winnable.
Some good value.
At this point.
Yeah. And now looking at the number 8 national seed, the last team that would be hosting a Super Regional is the Florida State Seminoles, who had a massive bounce back year after Link Jarrett and then the boys down in Tallahassee missing the tournament last year for the first time since 1977. That's how consistently good they've been playing, and under Mike Martin for the majority of that. And they have the number 2 seed is Alabama Crimson Tide, the 3 seed UCF, and the 4 seed the Stetson Hatters. What do you like in that?
I like Florida State. They were playing really well in the ACC tournament, and I feel like this is a team, Jamie Arnold, they can lean on their ace. So you could probably throw off of him against Stetson, although Stetson may be your best 4 seed out there. That's going to be really the deciding factor. If Jamie Arnold goes against who I'm assuming is going to be Alabama, they've got a rotation. Now, it would be a lot better if they had Luke Holman, but you've got Zane Adams, you've got Ben Hess, you've got Greg Ferrone. Ferrone's probably going to throw against UCF and Ben Vespi. We like Alabama to win that one. And then I think Florida State throwing Jamie Arnold against Ben Hess should be a very good game. And that one's probably going to be the one that decides the regional. But again, I feel like you have to take the chalk or pass right now. Florida State
It feels all chalk right now, doesn't it?
I know. Florida State is just playing so much better than Alabama was down the stretch. And I mean, as much as I hate to just sit here and give it out, Florida State minus 115, in my opinion, is the best bet on the board in this regional.
Yeah, man, and just the line's kind of shifted a little bit. I didn't see what they were before, but Florida State minus 115, Alabama plus 185, UCF plus 500, and Stetson plus 1,600. So definitely the best 4 seed odds out there, and they definitely are the best 4 seed in my mind. I mean, they play. This just feels like a midweek for them, but
Yeah.
for a full weekend because they play Florida State. They play all these Power 5 teams in the state of Florida. All these kids that go to Stetson, a lot of them are guys that didn't get recruited by Florida State, Miami. And, those midweek games, they throw their best guy because they want to beat these teams. They want to beat these Power 5 teams that didn't recruit them. And so I could see them sneaking and winning a game possibly, catching Florida State slipping maybe. I don't know about the value of winning the regional, but I don't see any value in plus 185 for Alabama, a team that I'm surprised was a 2 seed. I don't know about you. I was very surprised they were a 2 seed. I mean, they just down the stretch of the regular season and then, going one and done in Hoover, you don't know what to make of them because are they going to come in fresh and, ready to roll and rolling hot? Are they going to come in kind of slow and haven't played in feels like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, So it's definitely for me, Florida State. I mean, maybe you can get some game lines that'd be better, but regional wise, it's Florida State definitely, especially after the season they had last year and just the mindset and kind of head coach they have in Link Garrett. So it's going to be good to watch. I mean, postseason baseball in Tallahassee, it feels right. It feels right.
It does.
So, and with that, the number 9 national seed is the Oklahoma Sooners. and they will have number 2 seed Duke Blue Devils, the ACC tournament champion winners, and then 3
They
seed
got snubbed.
yeah. Number 3 seed UConn Huskies, and the 4 seed the Cinderella from last year that made it to Omaha, the Oral Roberts Golden Eagles. What do you like, Matt?
I think Duke is going to go in there pissed off and win this series or win this regional.
No shock.
I'm not buying Oklahoma. I know they've had a great season and they've come alive here in the last half of the season, but you look at their overall stats. I mean, they're 8-2 in their last 10. That's good. Duke is 6-4 over their last 10. They're very comparable, except for in run differential. Duke is blowing people out. 187 compared to Oklahoma's 130. This is just a Duke team that I feel like has a lot of firepower. They're getting Jonathan Santucci back. He threw bullpen during the ACC tournament. This seems almost too easy. You've got to compare conferences, and I'll take the ACC over the Big 12 all day, every day. And you're basically getting Braden Davis for Oklahoma has been good, but you're getting a much deeper pitching staff with the Duke Blue Devils. They should be able to throw their third starter and beat UConn and save 1 and 2 for Oklahoma. I mean, this to me is one that I just feel very strongly in favor of Duke, and I hope they don't let me down.
Yeah, and the books would agree with you at having Duke to win the regional minus 110, Oklahoma plus 145, UConn plus 650, and Oral Roberts plus 2,500, excuse me. And so, I mean, Duke definitely is going to have some bulletin board material. We love a good bulletin board material after winning the ACC tournament. They're a very good team. I mean, I see a lot of the same things you do in them. Just, I think they're going to outslug Oklahoma. They play very well on the road. They're 13-8 on the road. Yes, Oklahoma's good at home. They're 22-13, but the ACC, the depth of it, and just the talent up and down, it's way consistently better and higher than the Big 12. And I mean, the pitching staff for Duke has just been consistently better. And I think you had a case for Duke hosting regional, like absolutely hosting regional. And I feel like they probably got snubbed. They're going to have that. And I just haven't really bought Oklahoma. I guess they've been really good, have gotten better throughout the season, but I don't see them, walking through this regional easily. But I don't know how great I feel about, minus 110. Maybe wait a little bit, see if that line gets, plus 100, maybe plus 110 maybe. But I definitely have Duke winning this regional. And even the Oklahoma plus 145, I think is kind of a tease,
Yeah.
And I feel like that's maybe it's a trap.
To take Oklahoma a little bit. But I just think Duke they're primed to make a deep run in this postseason. And I feel like it sets up nicely for them to have a rematch against Florida State and have all ACC Super Regional. I'm not going to be surprised if we end up seeing Duke in Omaha.
Yeah, and that Florida State regional in Tallahassee matches up with this regional here, and for Oklahoma and possibly Duke, we could have an all ACC Super Regional in Florida State Duke. Two teams that know each other pretty well, you could say. So with that, the number 10 seed is also from the ACC and NC State. They will be hosting a regional in Raleigh, North Carolina. And number 2 seed, South Carolina Gamecocks. 3 seed, James Madison, the Dukes, who roll in there. Maybe they're kind of sneaking in there in the last 4, last 4 in maybe. But number 4 seed, Bryant Bulldogs, after winning their conference. So what do you take from this regional, Matt?
I'm looking for on my board here. Where 10. Here we go. It's hiding from me.
Yep.
NC State.
Number 10.
NC State they're an anomaly to, I feel like, everything. They overperform in the games that they shouldn't perform well in, and then they'll lay an egg in games that I feel like they should win. It's been a very hard team to handicap all season long. I've just, to this point, stayed away from them. South Carolina, kind of in the same boat. This is a team that they have all the makings of being good. They just couldn't string it together throughout the regular season. I don't really have a strong opinion in this one. Let me look at the odds. Plus 100 for NC State, plus 115 for South Carolina. That's probably where I would have it. I think if you're an SEC diehard, you could go South Carolina plus 115, and I wouldn't hate it. But I don't think there's any value in betting either one. I think both of them, it's going to come down to one of those two. James Madison, a team that we saw early in the season, Arkansas played a 4-game series with them. They went 1-3. They did get after Hagen Smith in the first game, but it didn't matter. I don't think it's not going to surprise me if NC State wins. It's not going to surprise me if South Carolina wins. So that just means I have to stay away from it. I'm not going to force something, but if I had to lean, I would say NC State probably wins at home.
Yeah, it feels like a really good draw for South Carolina, but it also feels like a good draw for NC State. With the 2 and the 3 seed, especially just compared to some other regionals and kind of seeding placements for teams. But South Carolina's just been such a scrappy team all year. They go to sweep a good Vanderbilt team at home, and then they go lose on the road at Alabama. They're just a very scrappy, death by a thousand cuts. They're just find a way to win. Battle hard. Grind out at bats. One of the highest strikeout rates in the SEC, but also one of the highest walk rates in the SEC. And it just deep counts. They run other teams' pitchers pitch counts up and gets the bullpen, which it's also South Carolina's pitching staff that kind of worries me, just with kind of how it's been shuffled around and just you don't have staple starters. When you got Roman Kimbrell who opens up a lot of games, then you have Eli Jones who got used out of the bullpen. I know it's SEC tournament, anything, everyone's available. He's kind of been their best starter. Then you have, Dylan Askew. It's Ty Good who started a bunch of games, but then now long relieving after Roman. It's interesting. It's definitely going to be a scrap. And NC State, has played very well. They've taken series from Wake. They've taken series from UVA, UNC, just very, very good teams in the ACC. But I think it's just whoever's going to be riding hot throughout the weekend.
Yeah.
It's at plus 100 and plus 115. I just don't think for me there's anything value that stands out because, it's kind of a coin flip for me either way. And James Madison, I don't really see. Plus 800 looks kind of, it's kind of a tease, but it's just for me, it's stay away and just watch and enjoy as a fan, to be honest.
Yeah. You fall back on what they're doing here recently. South Carolina 3-7 over their last 10. NC State 7-3. With Sam Heifel being back to 100%, I feel like this pitching staff is just better than South Carolina top to bottom. If they lose this regional, that's going to be a black eye for NC State because I feel like this is a very winnable region for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And this regional lines up pretty well with the Georgia regional just down the road in Athens. So it seems like it lines up well for Georgia, but also NC State. Or if it's South Carolina, you never know who's going to come out of it. But I think for all those teams involved, it lines up pretty well. It's not like you're going to Lindsey Nelson and playing Tennessee. You're not going to, Florida State. You're not going to Arkansas. So definitely could be worse, but we'll see. And number 11 national seed is Oklahoma State. First Midwest one we kind of see that farther than Arkansas. And they'll have the number 2 seed is Nebraska Cornhuskers, a very, very good Big Ten team. Number 3 seed, the Florida Gators, who a lot of people were on the bubble about if they were going to get in or not and how that was going to work. And then the 4 seed of Niagara, the Purple Eagles, who won their conference. Shout out to them for their first NCAA appearance, I believe, in a conference tournament, in the postseason tournament.
Yeah, I really am high on this Oklahoma State team. They've been on fire lately. I had them, I think, plus 450 to win the Big 12 tournament. They did it, and Oklahoma State minus 106. I'm all over it. I think it's laughable that Florida's plus 150. The fact that they're in the NCAA tournament is laughable to me. They're 28-27. They're not a great team. On paper, they've got the bats. They've got some pitchers, but at the end of the day, if somebody shows you what they are, believe them. And Florida is just not a very good baseball team. They've got all the talent. It's not going to surprise me if they string it together for a game, but I don't think they're going to be able to do it over a weekend, especially against a red-hot Oklahoma State team who I feel like they could throw any 3 of their guys in Carson Benji. And I always mess it up. Holiday having the pitcher named Holiday and the coach Holiday. But Brian Holiday, I think, is the pitcher. And then Sam Garcia, who just pitched an absolute gem the other day in the Big 12 tournament. I think it's Oklahoma State all the way.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch because Florida, when you look at it, if people notice, Florida has a committee member. Their AD is a committee member in that room. So was Florida ever really going to be left out? We'll never know. But
probably not.
I mean, just having the best player in college baseball, the most dynamic player in college baseball, Jack Caglione, help. I don't think it hurts, but I don't know. I think reputation kind of unfortunately plays into it a little bit, and so I think that's kind of what we saw with how this was done and just how they've inconsistently been all year. And they have a lot of talent all over. They just haven't been able to put the pieces together at all this season. It feels like it's just been one of the most rocky roads of any team we've seen this year, you could say, let alone in the SEC. And I'm curious to see when Kevin O'Sullivan uses Jack Caglione because he's been pitching him on Sunday all week because I think that's the best thing to do because you let him hit all weekend and then he's just pitching and hitting on Sunday and he has all week to recover. Do you throw him and do you throw him in game one is the thing. I mean, it's not like you got to play Nebraska. It's not like you're playing, a 4 seed. You're playing a really good team in Nebraska. I mean, let alone Oklahoma State, who is significantly better than Florida in this regional. But I think that's going to be interesting. And like you said, I think that 106 Oklahoma State, the way they've been playing this season, and the talent they have on this team, Carson Midgie, two-way guy. I mean, he's great on the mound. The value's there for me for Oklahoma State. I mean, plus 150 for Florida. I think that's such a one of the biggest teases of all the regional bets right now. It's just name brand right there, Florida. But Nebraska plus 500 really sparks some interest for me. I think it makes some noise. Winning it plus 500, there might be some good value there. Better than Florida, I think for sure. Niagara plus 5,000. Kind of not going to touch that at all, but for me, it's definitely Oklahoma State up minus 106.
I mean, based on the odds of Florida compared to Nebraska, you would think Florida would be a pretty heavy favorite to Nebraska in game one. And if it is,
that might be some value there.
Yeah, if you like Nebraska, I'd probably just take the plus money against Florida in game one. Our projections, if it is Jack Caglione going versus Brett Sears, who I assume is who Nebraska is going to throw, we make Nebraska minus 152. So I feel like Nebraska is going to get game one. If it ends up being Pierce Kapala, as my son walks by with a bag of chips, making all kinds of noise. If it's Brett Sears versus Pierce Kapala, Nebraska's minus 134. So that may be an option too for Florida to go. But either way, Nebraska we've got as the winner. So I feel like that would be a better bet to just take them game by game basis.
Yeah, no, that's a really good idea. And it's something that I noticed when I was in Hoover. Florida fans really don't travel, especially compared to other teams in the SEC. So I don't, it's not a close regional. I don't know how many Florida fans we're going to see out in Oklahoma or how many live out in the Midwest. And why would they leave the great sunshine state of Florida? So I think, I definitely think there's value in Nebraska going into against Florida, especially now you mentioned that. And with the number 12 national seed is Virginia Cavaliers hosting again in Charlottesville. And the 2 seed, a team that was on the bubble to host as well, that there's definitely some controversy there. Mississippi State, the Bulldogs, and then 3 seed St. John's, who won their conference tournament, the Johnnies, and then the 4 seed Penn Quakers, who won their conference as well. Matt, what do you like?
I mean, you've got a coin flip on Bet Rivers plus 100 for Virginia, plus 100 for Mississippi State. Virginia has been a team that's been very good at home, but they weren't last weekend. I think they lost the series. I can't remember who they played, but the final series of the ACC season, they lost it at home. Virginia and Mississippi State, very comparable teams. I feel like Mississippi State has a slight edge in pitching with Cal Steven and Gerangelo Cinci. These guys,
yep.
I feel like they probably get the win. Mississippi State does. but it's a coin flip. This is going to be one that I'll just bet game by game because I don't want to take Mississippi State plus 100. I do feel like in the game 2, if it's Mississippi State versus Virginia, Virginia is going to be a slight favorite just because it's home field. So why take even money before the game's even started when you could probably get even money or better in the game 1 or game 2?
Yeah, Virginia is the 14th best odds to win the College World Series at plus 3,500 behind Oklahoma State that we just talked about, plus 2,500. Mississippi State plus 4,000 to win it all, but Mississippi State as a 2 seed having the best odds. I mean, it is plus money at 100, but it's Virginia's as well, plus 100. Definitely, I think more of a game by game situation, and I don't really see any value in St. John's. I don't think they have enough pitching depth or firepower that Virginia has on the offensive side, and then Mississippi State, I think, has the best pitching staff in this regional for sure. I mean, Drangelo Senja, you have Cal Stevens, and then you have Brooks Iger, who threw a gem in Hoover against their rival and ended Ole Miss's season on a walk-off with Connor Hyzak. I mean, even in Hoover, they played well. And Hunter Hines and Dakota Jordan at one point were 0 for 24 or 1 for 24. That's their 2 best hitters. And to be playing that well without them to have production throughout the lineup, that speaks a lot to me. But I'd like better than plus 100. I like, plus like 130, 140 if you could get that if that line kind of moves. But I definitely like Mississippi State going to this regional to go into Charlottesville and take it, honestly.
Yeah, if you have your Angelo versus, let's just say, Evan Blanco, it's minus 102 in favor of Mississippi State. So, yeah, this is going to be one I'll bet game by game. And then interesting note, the winner of that would play in the Arkansas, assuming the Razorbacks win that regional. Yep. And Mississippi State just came to Fayetteville 3 weeks ago and lost 2-1 in that series. So as a Razorback fan, I would be more concerned with playing Mississippi State than Virginia for what that's worth.
Because State fans are going to travel for sure. They'll be in Charlottesville, but they will definitely be at the Bomb in Fayetteville.
Yeah.
So with that, the next regional, the 13th one, is a little farther away. Out in
this is the best one, in my opinion.
Your favorite regional, Arizona Wildcats are hosting it. It's 2 seed Dallas Baptist, the Patriots, 3 seed West Virginia Mountaineers, the 4 seed Grand Canyon Antelopes, which they're not going too far for their regional.
Yeah, I think Dallas Baptist and Arizona, this is going to be a great game 2 matchup if that's what we end up getting. I'm running the projections real quick, but Arizona really turned it on at the end of the season. Dallas Baptist would be minus 128 without the starting pitchers, obviously. But DBU, Dallas Bombers University, this is a team that can score.
Absolutely.
Arizona, West Virginia, I mean, they could both bat really well too. DBU 9-1 of their last 10. Arizona 6-4. If you want to back the team that's trajecting in the right position, you want to go DBU. But this is one that I feel like you can bet, kind of like what I was just talking about in the Clemson, Tennessee regional last year, or Clemson regional.
Kind of hedge it.
You could take both of them. You could take plus 150. You could take plus 180. I feel like either of those 2 teams are going to win it all. So that may be the best way to attack the Tucson regional if you want action on regional odds winner.
You don't see Grand Canyon giving Arizona a little bit of run for their money in game 1.
I think they probably
plus 110.
Could. Didn't they play each other in the regular season? I need to look.
I feel like it would have been a midweek, if anything.
Yeah, they did.
I feel like it would have had to been.
Grand Canyon won 24-8.
There you go. That I definitely think the line could probably lean a little bit on that projections for sure. I mean, Grand Canyon's a big offensive power. A lot of home runs.
Arizona won the first one 6-4, and then Grand Canyon won the second one April 30th, 24-8.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that Arizona feels a little bit slept on, and people were like, "Are they going to host a regional or not?" When they win the Pac-12 conference, and then they win the conference tournament as well. And it's been a great season for them, and I'm glad they're hosting. I'm glad we get a couple regionals out west, and I think
they didn't do him any favors though, giving them this. This is a tough regional, man.
Yeah, I
Like, hey,
this might be the take the
congratulations.
over regional. Yeah.
Here
I
you
mean,
go.
Purdue is probably one of the strongest 2 seeds out there, I believe, and they've been consistent all year. It's, Alabama going out there would have been better for Arizona, but
Yeah.
it yeah, I mean, no favors from the committee from that one. So, with the 14th national seed, we're staying out west, and UC Santa Barbara, the Gauchos, hosting the regional out west, and you love to see another West Coast kind of mid-major perennial power being back. From that past couple years, it's been a little lower, not as prevalent, but they're hosting a 2 seed, another out west team is staying close. San Diego Toreros, the 3 seed Oregon Ducks, and the 4 seed Fresno State Bulldogs. What do you like?
Yeah, Oregon's kind of been my darling all season. I've won a lot of money backing them, but I just feel like UC Santa Barbara is playing too well right now. They're going to be well rounded. They're minus 151 in a potential matchup against Oregon. Uh, Oregon, UC Santa Barbara was a team that we were high on at the beginning of the season for a mid major that can make some noise, and I feel like they've got a pretty good path to get through their regional. Now, they'd probably have to play eventually Texas A&M in the Super, so their season could be cut short there. But 10-0 in their last 10, UC Santa Barbara's doing everything well. They've got 172 weighted runs created plus over the last 10. They've got a 297 Sierra. So anything sub 3 is really good for the pitching staff. I feel like it's UC Santa Barbara or pass at this point. As much as I
At
love
plus 120?
yeah, I mean, I think Oregon may have a little bit to say about it, but I think at the end of the day, it's UC Santa Barbara. It's going to be tough to beat them twice, which is what I feel like they'd have to do to win it. So UC Santa Barbara plus 120 would be the play for me.
Yeah. No, I don't see any value in Fresno State at plus 900. Oregon plus 275 seems kind of like a tease.
Yeah, if I
This
get
this
Oregon like plus 400, I'd feel a little bit better about it. But
yeah,
UC
over
Santa Barbara
360
plus
over something like
120.
that. Yeah, I mean San Diego. I don't know. I haven't watched a ton of West Coast baseball this year, so it'd be more of a game by game thing for me, or maybe a late kind of play. But it's hard to go against UC Santa Barbara the way they've been playing recently. The Gauchos just cool, maybe the coolest mascot name in college baseball.
Yeah,
I mean,
San Diego,
it's
not to bypass them. I mean, they're 10-0 in their last 10 as well. They're hitting their stride.
they won
Their
their
strength
conference tournament.
schedule, yeah, their strength schedule is 99th though. UC Santa Barbara's is not much better at 93. I don't know.
West
This
Coast isn't
I may
that
be
great of a
sleeping on
conference.
San Diego Toreros a little bit.
Another cool mascot name. Another cool name for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
it feels like a West Coast, definitely a West Coast name kind of vibe. Gauchos, Toreros. It's hard to beat that. So
Isn't
we'll,
it
we'll
kind
see
of
what happens
funny
in
that
that.
it's Pac-12 baseball used to be like a perennial powerhouse, and now it's just kind of all gone to the smaller schools. I was really hoping
I'm here for it.
I was really hoping Southern California was going to win the Pac-12 just to steal a bid, because that was a team that they were displaced all season long. They had to go play their home games 45 minutes away, but their pitching staff with Tyler Stromsborg and Caden Aoki, like they had the tools. They almost put it together to win the Pac-12, but they gave up that ninth inning lead
Walk
over
off. Yeah.
Arizona. Yeah, but yeah, you look at the smaller schools, you usually see it like in Florida and California. They always seem to have like the guys that couldn't make it to the Power 5 schools, but they come in there and they play hard together and they win games, especially in the midweek. But UC Santa Barbara, San Diego, those are two. It's unfortunate that they got paired in together, because I feel like San Diego and any other regional would really be able to push a Power 5 team to the max. But with it, UC Santa Barbara and San Diego being there together, I feel like you've just got to go with the better of the two. And unfortunately, it's got to be the home team in the Gauchos.
Yeah. No, I think college baseball is best when mid majors are perennial kind of powerhouses and playing well and just kind of household names. I mean, you've seen Cal State Fullerton win it all. We've seen, or in '08, we've seen, Coastal Carolina win it all in 16. This is the year? It's 8 years later. This is the year. Is another mid major going to win it this year? It seems kind of like an 8 year tradition. So there's a couple of teams in it that definitely could. It would be a long shot, it'd be an awesome story. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But their super regional matchup against Texas A&M is not what you want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah. So staying out in the Pac West, when you mentioned that, unfortunately losing the Pac-12, excuse me. Oregon State hosting regional. Number 15 national seed. They will host UC Irvine, another West Coast powerhouse team that's been playing fantastic ball all year. Number 3, Nicholls State. Number 4, the Tulane Green Wave. What do you like?
Yeah, UC Irvine 8-2 in their last 10. Oregon State 8-2 in their last 10. I feel like it's going to come down to one of those two. But Oregon State, this is a team that plays so much better at Corvallis. I feel like with their starting rotation with Jacob Kamatz and Aiden May, I feel like they're going to have enough in this to win it. Hats off to Nicholls State for getting in there. They've been salty, but I just don't feel like they're in the right ballpark here to really contend. I feel like it's Oregon State 1 and then UC Irvine 2, and you could forget about 3 and 4. But it would be a shock to me if Oregon State doesn't win this one far and away.
So you're taking the minus 150 currently.
If I had to bet it, yes. But
if you had to bet it, yeah.
If I had to bet it, I would say, yeah. I mean, Oregon State. I've got a ticket on Oregon State to make the College World Series. I think at 3-1. So I'm just gonna ride that one out. But yeah, I think Oregon State gets it done.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting.
That would shape up for a really entertaining super regional in Lexington, because I feel like Oregon State would be able to give Kentucky a very good run for their money.
Yeah, Oregon State's a fantastic club, and I think they've had just some hiccups around the league, around the season that have gave people, kind of some unsettling, kind of alarms, like what's going on? Like this isn't how they are. This isn't the team kind of pedigree they are. The games they shouldn't be losing these games, but it definitely feels like Oregon State's to lose, especially playing out west in the middle of nowhere in the Pacific Northwest. But UC Irvine, love another good mid-major plus 225. I think more of a game line for me. I mean, I'm staying away from the minus 150 for now with Oregon State, but more so a watch and enjoy this regional because I love watching some, late Pac-12 baseball, some West Coast baseball. It's just a completely different style than the East Coast and the ACC and SEC. It's gonna be a lot of fun to watch. So,
and the last year of it, so enjoy it.
Yep. The last call was great. I'm glad that it was a walk-off in the championship. I mean, you can't ask for better than that. It's been the Pac-12 is unlike any other conference. The Pac-12 after dark, you can't compare it. You just can't. So, and with that, the number 16 national seed East Carolina Pirates, who are hosting this year after a lot of people were wondering if they was going to host or not. They also had a committee, their athletic director in the committee. So that was kind of interesting to see how that played out, and glad for East Carolina, for those fans and their team that they're hosting. They will be hosting no favors from the committee. Number 2 seed, Wake Forest Demon Deacons. The 3 seed, VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University. And the 4 seed, Evansville, the Purple Aces. A very cool name. Very cool name for sure. But what do you take from this and the draw they got, Matt?
Yeah, I thought Evansville was probably your best 4 seed. They got seeded in East Carolina. That could be a battle of the purple teams, but they're probably going to eventually face off against Wake Forest, they better pitch off Chase Burns and save that for the game 2. They could throw David Falco in game 1 and probably get past VCU. I think Wake Forest, rightfully so, with the odds minus 136. This is going to be Wake Forest regional to win. If East Carolina can do it, that's awesome. Congratulations. You're going to get the test of taking on Tennessee. So good luck. But I think at the end of the day, we want to see Wake Forest versus Tennessee in Knoxville. Chase Burns versus Old Navy. Let's go. That's what it needs to be.
It's scripted. It feels
really,
like
the committee really just wrote the precursor for some really good storylines in this one. But I think this one's the best one you can get. Wake Forest taking on Tennessee in the Super Regional to get right to Omaha. Yeah, let's go. Bring it.
Yeah, I was really hoping that Wake Forest would be in Georgia's regional, and I think I would have hammered Wake Forest for sure. I definitely would have gone to that game. I'm planning on going to a couple through, maybe Athens, Clemson, maybe 1 or 2 in North Carolina games, maybe slide over to Knoxville, catch one. So I'm trying to plan that out right now and lock that in. But Wow. I mean, I don't think you could have gotten a worse 2 seed than Wake Forest. I mean, here's your favor for hosting. You get to host Wake Forest, who the favorite right now at -136, East Carolina +160. I think the worst hosting odds of any 1 seed.
Yep.
ECU +1,200 and Evansville +1,200 as well. Seems like just kind of throw those out to the side. It's gonna be Wake Forest or Eastern Carolina or East Carolina, excuse me. And I it's just if they don't pitch off Chase Burns, like you said, it doesn't make any sense not to. There's no reason they should lose to VCU in the first game, and then it's gonna be unbelievable if we get Chase Burns returning to Lindsey Nelson as a starter, not out of the bullpen, as a starter, and if he goes 12, 15 Ks and just the emotion that he brings, he's one of the most electric players and pitchers to watch in college baseball. Uh, but is this East Carolina's year? We always talk about how East Carolina is just they're hosting regionals or maybe hosting a super regional, and they're just so close, but they can never make it. Like, do they legitimately have a chance, Matt, to make it to Omaha this year?
I mean, they did until Wake Forest got revealed as the 2 seed. I like East Carolina. I think Trey Savage is salt of the earth. He's a great
He's a
pitcher,
great player.
but you look at the head-to-head comparison, we make Wake Forest -123. If it is Chase Burns, let's see what this changes it to. But yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for East Carolina. I do have a ticket on both of these teams to make the College World Series, so I would love to see it. But I don't think either one of them are cashing it because I don't think they're getting through the gauntlet of Tennessee right now. Uh, but if it's Zach Root or Trey Savage, let's go Trey Savage versus Chase Burns. That's what everybody wants to see. Wake would be -124.
Two of the best pitchers in the East Coast for sure.
Yeah,
So
I just can't really make a case for East Carolina to get there.
yeah, and just looking at it, like weighted runs created plus, they're both 128, 125, Wake Forest, and then East Carolina respectively. But Wake Forest outslugging East Carolina by a ton, almost 30 home runs. So they're going to obviously rely on the long ball a little bit more than East Carolina. But I mean, it's going to be a rowdy ballpark, and it's Wake Forest fans are going to travel, I think, because it's not that far at all. So it's going to be an awesome environment. I can't wait to watch that. That's going to be one of my favorite regionals to watch. Just that matchup and the pitching matchup and what comes from it. So we'll
Yeah.
have to see when we get there. But so what is your looking back at it? What is your favorite and least favorite regional?
I think my favorite one is the Tucson. That's the one I'm most excited to watch. My least favorite, I don't know. I mean, if Arkansas was not my team, I would say that one's pretty boring. But let's throw that one to the side. I think Oklahoma's regional is going to be pretty boring because I think Duke is just going to be a buzzsaw through there. And then another entertaining one, you got to say East Carolina Wake. I feel like those two, you've got a really good opportunity for a team to get to Omaha as a mid-major, but Wake, you've got a tough 2 seed right there. I don't know what, in your opinion, is the tougher two, Mississippi State or Wake?
Wow, that's really good actually.
Because neither one of them I'd want to play right now.
I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't play. I mean, like on a weekend series, I'd say Mississippi State. If it's a whole series, just with the depth of pitching and
Yeah.
the lineup's been really impressive the last kind of half of the season and going into the postseason. But one game and you get Chase Burns to the mound, I think Wake for sure. It doesn't. I mean, I wouldn't want to see either one, like we both said. But wow, I mean, I definitely think those are the two probably them and Duke, the two or three best 2 seeds out there, like by far. So no favors in the committee, like we said. Dallas Baptist, another very, very good 2 seed. But for me, I think most or least interesting regional, Arkansas. I doesn't do much for me. I think I don't know. I mean, Kentucky's regional is not really interesting for me either. Just
Yeah.
Indiana State and in Illinois and Western
I,
Michigan
I would laugh if Indiana State went in there and won that one.
or Illinois.
Yeah,
I mean,
I feel like Indiana State's probably going to handle Illinois, but I don't
yeah,
know. I don't know. If the Big Ten really wants to stake a claim, They need a big win out of Nebraska over Florida and in Illinois over Indiana State.
Yeah, I honestly think Georgia is one of the most like kind of sleeping regionals. I just don't think it's that going to be that intriguing or that exciting.
Yeah, I agree, and I know I said it
Even though you
earlier.
get a rivalry.
I think Georgia just really got the red carpet rolled out for them to make it to the College World Series.
Yeah, I mean, you're having a rival in there, but it's not like it's Texas Tech or Texas versus Texas A&M. That's not nearly the level in which it's on. I mean, as a whole, I think, like you said, the Tucson regional, I think depth wise is going to be probably one of the most interesting to watch. Outside of, I mean, I think Clemson could be an interesting regional. It's just going to be a slugfest throughout. I mean, I think High Point's going to be playing very competitive baseball. They may not, it go far, but I think they'd be playing very, very tough baseball. And then, I mean, the West Coast regionals feel really, really strong this year, really deep is the thing. And I'm excited for that. It's great for the game. I'm glad we got more than, 2 West Coast regionals because that was kind of a worry. We're going to get, Oregon State kind of throughout the year. Is it going to be another one or not? And so I'm glad we get that. It's great for the game of college baseball, growing it and making it, more nationally known, present. And it's always good to, enjoy a good road trip for the boys.
What would you say? Who would you say has the best shot as a 2 seed to make it out of the regional?
Best shot as a 2 seed, make it out of the regional. It's either got to be, let's see. It's either got to be Duke, just the regional in at Oklahoma.
That would be
Duke's
mine.
one jumps off the page to me, or not Southern Miss, or maybe Wake, not Alabama, not La Tech, maybe Mississippi State. Dallas Baptist has got a really good chance. LSU, if they play how they've been playing the past 10 games, has a really good shot. Vanderbilt, no. It's got to be Duke for me, I think.
What about a 3?
Duke or Wake Forest. Best 3 seed.
Yeah,
All right, now we're digging into it.
But this is a good little exercise.
Yeah. Best
value.
Best 3 seed. Value-wise, or just who has the best? Like, I think has the best shot.
Yeah, who has the best shot to get out?
Let's see. So Indiana, VCU, UConn, UCF, Kansas State, St. John's, West Virginia. Who's the 3 seed in Chapel Hill again?
Wofford,
Southern champions. Texas, Oregon, Florida, Coastal Carolina, Georgia Tech, JMU, Nicholls State, and Illinois, the Fighting Illini. Yeah, I want to lean Texas. I want to lean Texas.
Dude, I could see that. It just depends on what Texas shows up. Mine would be probably Coastal Carolina.
They're going to have to outslug it. They're going to do it.
I know. I mean, you got to. That's going to be their only way to do it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, like you said your strongest 4 seed was what, Evansville?
Probably Stetson, then Evansville.
Stetson, Evansville. I think Stetson for me, and then High Point. I'd say Stetson, then High Point for me. But it's going to be, I hope, as much chalk as we like to talk about it, and just like the numbers wise and where the value is, we love a good upset. We love chaos in this, and this is what postseason baseball is all about. And just the best teams, win in the end, make the best players make the best plays. And it's a lot of strategic coaching with pitching and pitching off. And I think that's the biggest thing to watch for people who are big college baseball fans and college baseball insiders, and just the data that y'all bring over in y'all's website is just unbelievable. It's incredible. The matchups, the values, the lines, the stats. It's unbelievable. And it's such a thing that I look at it all the time. You get value in, creating hypothetical situations. What if Chase Burns pitches against his old team in Tennessee? How does that look? It's a lot of fun, and y'all do such a great job with that.
Well, thank you very much. We just continue to try to get better with it too. And we're going to go, I don't know if anybody's followed me along. We've put out these guides for the postseason the last few years, and they seem to do really well, especially because college baseball is kind of slept on for the majority of the regular season. And then in the postseason, people, the NBA is coming to an end, NHL is coming to an end, and you want something to bet. And for anybody that's watched the regional field of 64 and you have squeeze play going, like there's no better feeling than that. Like I live for that to the point where I may not go to the Razorback game just so I can sit and watch 15 games at one time instead of just one. So
Get the
it's
quad
a lot
box
of
going.
fun. Yeah, it's the best time in college baseball for sure. And there's nothing better in my opinion.
Yeah, it's so awesome. I mean, as much as I want to go to these regionals and trying to plan that out, I just want to sit back, throw a quad box up, watch as much baseball as I can, and just enjoy it.
Heck
It
yeah.
it it's hard. It's hard to beat that. It's hard being in to beating our regional in that environment. It's a really good game, a really good regional, but it's hard to watch as much as possible, as big of fans as we are and others around the country. So it's going to be fun. But if you are going to a game, make sure you use our promo code SECU at checkout on SeatGeek.com for $20 off your first purchase. That's SECU for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Great best place to get tickets, I believe. I mean, I've gotten tickets for any sports there, every kind of sport you can think of, and it gives you a value for how good of a tickets prices are. The seats gives you a grade for it. Love looking at that. No one else that I've seen does that, and they do such a great job at that. Just as y'all do with covering college baseball, some of the best content I've seen, and just the numbers and the metrics, and I love it. I mean, just it's so much fun to keep up with y'all.
I appreciate it.
Yep. Well, that's going to do it all for us. He is Matt Grissom. I'm Harrison Fant. And this is a little regional wrap, a little looking at the lines, best odds, what we like, what we don't like, and what we enjoy from it, and how we see the field. And it's been a great job. It's been a lot of fun talking to you, Matt, and I really appreciate the time.
I appreciate you having me on, man.